When you see the word amber printed on, the front of a sleek, heavy glass fragrance bottle, what do you actually imagine you're about to smell?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Right. I mean, it's a word that instantly triggers expectations for you. Are you picturing that ancient golden tree resin, maybe catching the light in a museum?
The glowing orange gemstone?
Exactly. The one with the prehistoric mosquito permanently trapped inside. Or, well, maybe you're picturing something else entirely, something vaguely warm and exotic.
Most people do.
But the truth is, amber, in perfumery, is one of the global fragrance industry's absolute greatest illusions. It is a completely constructed, beautifully engineered fantasy.
A total fabrication, yeah.
And today, we are going to tear that illusion down.
Oof.
So welcome to this deep dive into the source material. We have a massive stack of notes for you today.
We really do. A historical archive from legendary Parisian perfume houses, intense chemical analyses of modern scent molecules. It's wild.
Our mission today is to demystify the complex and honestly often entirely contradictory identity of this thing we all just casually call amber.
It is a remarkable topic to unpack because it sits directly at this intersection of biology, cutting-edge chemistry, and, well, pure artistic imagination.
Yeah.
But to even begin understanding what an amber perfume actually is, we have to aggressively strip away the deeply ingrained myths of what it isn't.
Which is a lot.
Right. Looking at the historical classifications in our sources, there are basically three entirely different, distinct things that consumers constantly confuse when they talk about amber.
Let's start with the most obvious visual, which is the stone itself. Fossilized tree resin, scientifically known as succinate.
Succinate, yes.
And when you look at it, I mean, it is undeniably stunning. It has that warm, honeyed, trapped fire glow to it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And because of that visual warmth, our brains do this sort of synesthetic crossover where we just assume it must smell incredibly rich and sweet.
The irony there is that olfactorily, succinate is a total dead end.
A dead end.
Yeah, it is practically odorless. I mean, to get any scent out of fossilized amber, you have to subject it to extreme destruction.
Like melting it.
Worse, it has a melting point of around 300 degrees Celsius, meaning unless you are literally holding a blowtorch to it and burning it to ash, it yields absolutely no aromatic material.
Wow.
It has zero chemical connection to the liquid inside your perfume bottle. The association the fragrance industry relies on is purely visual and conceptual.
So they're selling you the color, basically, not the stone.
Exactly, they are selling the color.
Okay, so if the stone itself is a sensory dead end, how did the word amber end up implying a scent in the first place?
Well, the answer to that requires looking entirely away from the forest and diving straight into the ocean.
Right, inside the digestive tract of a sperm whale.
Which brings us to the second, highly misunderstood facet of this whole thing, ambergris, or gray amber.
Gray amber.
Yeah, and the biological reality of ambergris is just staggering. It begins deep in the ocean. Sperm whales eat thousands of squid, and the hard, indigestible squid beaks irritate the whale's stomach lining.
Ouch.
Right. So to protect its internal organs, the whale secretes this fatty, waxy substance that coats these beaks. And eventually, this mass is expelled into the freezing ocean.
But fresh ambergris is useless to a perfumer, right?
Completely useless. It smells distinctly fecal, just foul. The magic requires time and, frankly, brutal elemental exposure.
The sources emphasize that it floats on the ocean surface sometimes for decades, right? Like,
Right.
It's not just bobbing around. It is actively transforming.
Right. It undergoes a profound chemical degradation. The core molecule, ambrane, is relentlessly battered by harsh, highly saline seawater and intense ultraviolet sunlight.
Just baking in the ocean.
Baking for years, this decades-long photodegradation process oxidizes the ambrane, breaking it down into a complex matrix of entirely new aromatic compounds. It basically cures the mass. So by the time it washes up on a beach, it has transformed into this pale, solid chunk with a uniquely complex scent profile.
Which smells like what exactly?
It's smoky, heavily salty, fiercely mineralic, and just deeply musky. But for centuries, perfumers prized it not just for its scent, but because it acted as a miraculous fixative.
Okay, let's pause on that word fixative, because it's crucial for you, the listener, to understand how perfumes actually work. A fixative isn't just about the smell, is it?
No, not at all. It's about the physical behavior of the liquid on your skin.
Right.
Think of a perfume as a collection of molecules with different weights. Citrus notes like lemon or bergamot are incredibly light and volatile.
They just evaporate right off.
Exactly, they evaporate off your skin in minutes. But ambergris contains massive, heavy molecules.
So it weighs it down.
Precisely. When you blend light citrus with heavy ambergris, the heavy molecules physically anchor the lighter ones, drastically slowing down their evaporation rate. It glues the fragrance to your skin.
It's an anchor. But here is the massive problem that the industry ran into. You cannot rely on a business model that requires waiting for a whale to get a stomachache, right?
Right.
And then hoping the result floats in the ocean for 30 years before washing up on a random beach. True, naturally occurring, ocean-aged ambergris became exorbitantly expensive and impossibly rare.
Which totally forced the hand of the perfumers. I mean, they lost their greatest oceanic anchor, so they had to retreat to the laboratory.
To invent a completely new olfactory category to replace that heavy enveloping base.
Exactly.
And this is the third thing. The thing you, the listener, are actually smelling when you buy a bottle of amber perfume at a department store today. The Amber Accord.
The famous Amber Accord.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. So amber in modern perfume is essentially like blue raspberry in candy.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to put it.
Like, it's a conceptual flavor, a total fantasy note, rather than a literal extraction from a real-world object.
The parallel is striking. Just as no one is out foraging in the woods for bright blue raspberries, no perfumer is extracting sweet resin from a fossil.
Right.
The classical Amber Accord is a meticulously constructed botanical recipe. It does not exist in nature as a single unified material.
So what's in the recipe?
Well, perfumers historically built this fantasy using 3 foundational pillars. First, labdanum.
Labdanum.
Yeah, it's a dark, sticky, leathery, and slightly medicinal resin gathered from the Mediterranean cistus shrub.
It gives it that dense, slightly dirty animalic edge.
Exactly the function it serves. Then, the second pillar is benzoin.
Which comes from a tree, right?
Right, from the resinous tears of the Styrax tonkinensis tree, typically found in Laos and Vietnam.
Okay.
Benzoin provides a creamy, almost chocolate-tinged, powdery sweetness. It softens the aggressive leather of the labdanum.
Nice.
And finally, the third pillar is vanilla, or its synthesized form, vanillin, which rounds out the entire blend with a recognizable, comforting, expansive warmth.
So they basically combined a Mediterranean shrub, a Southeast Asian tree sap, and vanilla to create a botanical mimic.
Yep.
And then they just slapped the name amber on it, completely conflating the visual warmth of the fossilized stone, the luxurious historical reputation of the whale secretion, and this new lab-created recipe.
Pretty much.
I mean, it's brilliant marketing, but it forever confused the public.
The confusion was immediate and lasting. But I mean, from an artistic standpoint, it was revolutionary. They didn't just replace ambergris, they inadvertently birthed an entirely new genre of human experience.
And if this sweet, heavy, resinous amber is a constructed fantasy, that means it didn't just evolve in nature, it was born.
It was.
And our sources actually allow us to pinpoint the exact historical moment, the exact room where this fantasy was fully realized. We are talking about the year 1905 in the laboratory of the legendary perfumer François Coty.
Coty's laboratory in 1905 represents the absolute fulcrum of modern fragrance history. To understand why, we have to look at the writings of master perfumer Jean-Claude Ellena in our materials.
Yes, his insights are fascinating.
He points out that the late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the advent of synthetic chemistry. Before this era, perfumery was strictly representational.
Right, it was just copying what was outside the window. You extracted a rose, you sold a perfume called Rose.
Okay.
You extracted lavender, you sold lavender. The perfumer was entirely bound by the physical limits of nature.
And the isolation and creation of synthetic molecules completely shattered those limits. One of the most important breakthroughs was the synthesis of vanillin in the late 19th century. Suddenly, perfumers had access to pure, concentrated, stable vanilla without needing a single orchid pod.
Which brings us back to Coty's lab and a literal shattered vial. The historical archives of the House of Coty describe this breakthrough as a magnificent, fortunate accident.
A happy accident, yeah.
Someone spilled, or, well, recklessly poured, a massive, unexpected overdose of this new, incredibly potent synthetic vanillin directly over a bed of bergamot extract.
Imagine the sensory collision in that room. Raw synthetic vanillin is almost sickeningly sweet. It is cloying, heavy, and totally opaque. It suffocates the nose.
And bergamot.
Bergamot, on the other hand, is a sharp, acidic, highly volatile citrus. It is pure brightness.
So the bergamot acted like a knife. It slashed right through that heavy cloying blanket of vanillin.
Yes.
The sharp citrus created space and architecture within the sweetness. And Coty immediately recognized the magic in this mistake.
He was a genius for that.
He took that bright, sweet collision, anchored it with the leathery darkness of natural labdanum, and created a legendary foundational base that he named Ambre S.
Ambre S was the absolute genesis of the modern sweet amber family. Coty used it as the core of his groundbreaking 1905 fragrance, Ambre Antique.
And how did that smell?
It possessed a flash of luminous freshness at the top, plunging into a deep, powdery, animalic warmth at the base.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Today, we live in an era dominated by the clean beauty movement. Consumers are constantly told that synthetic means cheap, toxic, or just inherently inferior to natural.
Oh, constantly.
But our sources reframe this entirely. Jean-Claude Ellena frames the introduction of these synthetic molecules as the ultimate artistic liberation.
It totally was.
The synthetic vanillin wasn't a cheap shortcut. It was a brand new color of paint that allowed Coty to paint a landscape that literally did not exist in nature.
Right, because chemists were trying to understand and map nature, but for the artist, the perfumer synthetics were a release from the compulsory reference to nature.
That's a great way to put it.
The combination of natural labdanum and synthetic vanillin in Ambre S created an opaque, powdery thickness that natural extractions could never achieve alone.
It was too thick for nature.
Exactly. It was thick, rich, and mellow. This sweet amber accord became the indisputable cornerstone of 20th century perfumery. It provided the architectural foundation for global masterpieces like Guerlain's Shalimar in 1925, which, defined the entire Oriental amber category for nearly a century.
It is genuinely amazing to think that a spilled vial created a template that dictated how millions of people smelled for decades.
Decades, yeah.
For a very long time, if you saw amber on a bottle, you know exactly what you were getting, that sweet, heavy, vanillic, resinous velvet blanket of scent.
The tastes inevitably change.
Right. People didn't want to smell like an opulent 1920s parlor forever. Modern perfumers started looking backward. They wanted to capture the salty, radiant, oceanic magic of the original whale ambergris, but they still couldn't use the whale.
Right. The aesthetic goal shifted from opacity to transparency. Perfumers wanted the oceanic, mineralic, sheer quality of ambergris, devoid of the heavy, powdery sweetness of the labdanum vanilla accord.
So how do they do it?
Achieving this required another massive leap forward in synthetic chemistry, ultimately leading to the creation of a totally new category known in the industry today as dry ambers.
And this introduces a word that anyone who loosely follows modern fragrance or even just watches perfume reviews online has undoubtedly heard 100 times: Ambroxan.
Ambroxan. It is the glowing, almost radioactive heart of modern dry ambers.
What exactly is that?
It is a molecule originally synthesized from sclereol, which is an organic compound derived from the clary sage plant.
Oh, so it comes from a plant.
It begins with renewable botanical origins, yes,
Yeah.
but it is heavily processed and isolated in a laboratory setting. Ambroxan is a marvel because it perfectly emulates the complex, cured smell of real oceanic ambergris. It is dry, woody, highly mineralic, and incredibly musky.
But it's not just the smell, right? It's the sheer technical performance that makes it revolutionary. The chemical analyses in our stack show that pure Ambroxan on a paper testing blotter will continue to project a scent for over a month.
Over a month. The substantivity is off the charts. But more critically, it behaves differently on human skin than the old sweet ambers.
In what way?
Ambroxan provides what perfumers describe as a diffusive, warm skin aura. It does not sit heavily on the wearer. It radiates outward, completely transparent, almost like an aura rather than a perfume.
So let's contrast these two eras so you can really picture it. If the classic 1905 sweet amber is like wrapping yourself in a thick, heavy velvet blanket by a roaring fireplace.
Yes.
This modern dry Ambroxan is more like the radiant, invisible heat coming off a piece of sun-bleached driftwood on a salty, windy beach.
The sensory difference is exactly that pronounced, dense and opaque versus airy and transparent. But of course, the chemical evolution didn't stop with the elegant transparency of Ambroxan.
It never does.
No. To enrich and aggressively intensify this dry amber profile, chemists began developing a class of extremely potent woody amber molecules. In the industry, these are frequently referred to as the super ambers, or More tellingly, the spiky amber.
Spiky ambers. Just the name sounds almost aggressive.
They are high-impact dominant materials. We are talking about proprietary molecules with intimidating trade names like ambrosanide, ambermax, and carinol, which chemically is known as amber dioxane.
Okay.
These molecules possess incredibly high molecular weight and extraordinarily low volatility.
Meaning they are massive, heavy structures that take forever to evaporate off the skin.
Correct. They offer massive, almost unnatural longevity, lingering on skin for days and on fabric for weeks. Carinol, for instance, projects a bone-dry, dusty, resinous power that mimics the scent of ancient, desiccated wood in a desert.
Wow.
And ambrosanide provides a dense, almost metallic, mineralic spike that cuts through any other note in the formula.
It sounds like they are engineering perfume for maximum possible volume. It's like turning the treble all the way up on a stereo system.
That's a great analogy.
Like if you just add a little bit of treble, it gives the music a crispness and a nice edge. But if you crank it, it literally hurts your ears. There has to be a catch to unleashing these massive molecules onto the market.
The catch is significant, and it's deeply rooted in human biology. The sources highlight a widespread phenomenon tied directly to these super ambers anosmia.
Anosmia.
Yeah, this occurs when the wearer's nose simply goes blind to the scent.
Explain the mechanism there. Why do we go blind to the strongest smells in the room?
It fundamentally comes down to olfactory receptor fatigue. These super amber molecules are incredibly large and heavy. When you inhale them, they physically park themselves inside your nasal receptors,
You just get stuck.
basically. Because of their size and low volatility, they don't clear out quickly. Your brain recognizes that the receptors are jammed, and to prevent continuous sensory overload, it simply shuts off the signal. You stop smelling it.
Oh, wow.
So you might be walking around projecting a massive, room-filling cloud of ambermax, but you assume your perfume has faded, so you spray more.
Which perfectly explains why someone on the subway can be radiating a smell that makes your eyes water while they are completely oblivious.
Exactly. And that leads to the second major risk, the spikiness. If these powerful synthetics are overdosed by the perfumer in the lab or oversprayed by the wearer at home, they entirely lose their elegant, sun-bleached driftwood quality.
They become too sharp.
They become aggressively harsh. They activate the trigeminal nerve, causing a piercing, literal nasal burning sensation. Finding the exact right balance layering the smooth, transparent radiance of Ambroxan with just a microscopic fractional trace of the dusty power of carinol is considered the great technical challenge of modern fragrance formulation.
So we have traveled an insane distance today. We've gone from the ancient odorless gemstone to the oxidized whale secretion floating in the Atlantic to the sweet vanillic velvet blanket born from a lab accident in 1905 to the highly engineered, sometimes nasal-burning super ambers of today.
It's quite a timeline.
But this lab-created fantasy note didn't just alter the chemistry of how we smell. According to our sources, it possessed enough cultural gravity to permanently change the official language of the global fragrance industry.
It did. To grasp the magnitude of this shift, we have to look at the taxonomy of fragrance. For nearly a century, the sweet amber accord, that Coty-inspired blend of labdanum, benzoin, and vanilla, was the foundational base for what was historically called the Oriental fragrance family.
Right.
If a perfumer took that heavy, sweet base and added warm spices or dense tropical florals, the resulting perfume was classified as an Oriental.
Yeah, anyone who has ever shopped for perfume over the last 50 years knows those terms. You'd see spicy Oriental or floral Oriental on marketing materials at every perfume counter in the world.
But language is not static, and global industries must constantly adapt to the cultural context in which they operate. In June 2021, Michael Edwards made a monumental official change to the industry's language.
Who is Michael Edwards, for those who don't know?
He is the creator of the fragrance wheel and the fragrances of the world classification system, which is essentially the definitive, universally accepted taxonomy of global perfumery. In 2021, he completely eradicated the term Oriental and replaced it with the Amber family.
Wait, I have to stop you there and push back on this. Isn't that just replacing one confusing term with another? I mean, if we have literally spent this entire deep dive proving that amber is a complete illusion, a ghost note based on... So what does this ultimately mean for you, the listener? Well, if you're shopping for a fragrance today, and you are browsing the notes on a website and see amber woody or soft amber, you aren't just looking at a list of ingredients.
Not at all.
You are witnessing a real-time linguistic shift in how a multi-billion-dollar industry categorizes its most historically complex, resinous scents. The word amber was suddenly forced to step up and bear the weight of an entire historical category.
It perfectly encapsulates how perfumery operates as a living, breathing reflection of society. It documents our advancements in chemistry, our evolving aesthetic tastes, shifting from the sweet, opaque heaviness of the 1920s to the dry, radiant minimalism of today and our maturing cultural awareness.
Yeah.
A fantasy note born from a 1905 lab accident involving a recklessly spilled vial of synthetic vanillin is now the official namesake of one of the largest and most critical olfactory families in the world.
Okay, let's take a breath and recap this incredible journey because we have covered massive ground today. We started by debunking the golden gemstone, which looked beautiful, but offers absolutely 0 scent.
Zero.
We waded into the ocean to understand the brutal, decades-long photodegradation of ambergris, a whale secretion that acts as a miraculous fixative, but is far too rare for modern use.
Right.
We then stepped inside Francois Coty's lab in 1905 to witness the shattered vial of vanillin meeting bergamot, birthing the classic sweet amber accord.
Yeah.
We tracked the relentless march of modern chemistry, bringing us from those velvet blankets to powerful, radiant super ambers like Ambroxan.
And the high molecular weight behemoths like caranol that cause our noses to go blind.
Yes. And finally, we saw how this beautifully engineered illusion took over the fragrance wheel entirely, renaming an entire fragrance family for the modern era.
This journey truly highlights the ultimate artistry of the perfumer. They are never merely copying nature. They are abstracting it, improving upon its limitations, and generating profound emotional resonance through entirely constructed means.
It is all a beautifully engineered trick of the nose, which leaves us with a final lingering thought for you to mull over.
I love this part.
We've spent this whole deep dive exploring how amber is a complete illusion, a synthetic phantom that we have collectively globally agreed possesses a specific nostalgic emotional warmth. It makes you wonder, what other deeply nostalgic, comforting connections do you have in your daily life that are actually entirely constructed fantasies just waiting to be unpacked?